the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 28 in the NLT. It says, "A growing population is a king's glory. A prince without subjects has nothing." All right, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachach Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and shalom to the hopeful elect. So, through the Spirit, I just want to go into how, as you can see from the title of the lesson, what's a king without servants? All right, our people really have lost a ruling class mentality, so much so that when you tell them that they're the Israelites, now, you people of so-called Negro and Native Indian descent, you're the 12 tribes of Israel. Most of you know this at this point. So now we have an influx of bug-outs, non-believers, and ultimately slaves. All right, as it tells you in Jeremiah, is Israel a homeborn servant? Is he a slave? You tell our people that we're the greatest people on earth, that the Lord chose us to rule, and that these heathen are going to go into slavery, and our people get butthurt. And it's ironic because Jake loves to throw around the word king. Yeah, we kings, peace king, word king, word is boy. All these New York rappers, we're gods, we're kings, yo Lord. But then when you tell them that you're going to have servants, they have a problem with that. Now, what is a king without servants? What are you the king over? What are you ruling if you don't have subjects to? Let me read this again. This is Proverbs 14 and 28 in the NLT. It says, "A growing population is a king's glory." Right, a growing population. All right, you need slaves to which this society, they call them employees. All right, when you go into the Black's Law Dictionary, an employee is just a slave. It's just another way of saying slave without sounding like you're lording over someone or ruling over someone. But that's exactly what you're doing. All right, it also tells you in Proverbs that the rich ruleth over the poor. Let me get that real quick. We'll come back to that chapter 14. This is Proverbs, one of my favorites, 22 and 7. It says, "The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender." Right, so if you pay taxes, you're a slave. All right, now our people don't like to hear that. They like to believe that slavery ended in 1865, which the Emancipation Proclamation did not end slavery. All right, all you have to do is read, the 13th Amendment. It's illegal to enslave someone unless they commit a crime. Oh, by the way, it's illegal for you to jaywalk. It's illegal for you to be here. It's illegal for you to walk while being black. They basically, these Edomites made it a crime to be a so-called black man after saying that you're free as long as you don't commit a crime. But to make matters worse, they enslaved their own people. All right, going back to what? You're at Jekyll Island, and they established the Federal Reserve. And now all of these people that pay taxes, they're all subject to the lender. All right, this country is trillions of dollars in debt. It's never going to be paid off. And every American citizen is born in servitude. You're born into debt. And then you go further into debt if you go to college, if you buy a car, if you get a mortgage. Everything you do here is like Monopoly. All right, everywhere you go, you got to pay somebody, man. That's slavery, man. But let me read that again. Let me go back to the Proverbs 14. It says, Proverbs 14 and 28, "A growing population is a king's glory. A prince without subjects has nothing." And if you call yourself a king, but you don't have anyone to rule over, then what are you king over? Our people have no understanding of the scriptures. They have no understanding that there's going to come a point where everything is going to be turned right side up. The people that are at the bottom are going to be at the top. All right, as it is written, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. And these Edomites, the Rothschilds, the DuPonts, the Rockefellers, even the banking families that we don't know about, they're just in the shadows. They have unlimited money because they have subjects. You can't even measure their money in dollars because they print money. Can Jake imagine printing money, controlling entire countries of people and printing money? All right, these people, they have these little projects that they do where they'll rent a giant underground lab. They'll rent a lab on an island. They'll pay off a bunch of scientists and just do a bunch of tests. And the scientists, they don't even know what they're doing because the person that's over the project has told them that they're working on one thing, but they're really working on something totally different. That takes infinite amount of money to do something like that. Imagine having the money to just, you have an idea, you want something done, and you could just write any number on a check. Money's not real. You don't have a bank account to go to. You just print it out of thin air. All right, these different government organizations, the ones we know about, like the CIA, etc., and then the ones we don't know about, just secret government organizations, man. These people fund through drugs, through debauchery, just all sorts of madness, just endless money. All right, in the kingdom of heaven, we're going to have that in righteousness. We're going to be able to, whatever thought comes to your mind, you want to do it. You're not going to have to save up, all right? Because why? You're going to own the people. You're going to have entire continents of people that belong to the 12 tribes of Israel. And as the elder goes into, we're going to own nouns, all right? Persons, places, and things, and ideas. All right? We're going to own creation. That's going to be given to the 12 tribes of Israel. And our people can't fathom that because they believe that the so-called white man is supposed to be in power, that someone that looks like them is not supposed to have authority. They have a lowly mentality. But it says, a growing population is a king's glory. A prince without subjects has nothing. Right? If you're a king, right? This is why the whole 40 acres and a mule thing was madness, because if you have a bunch of land and you don't have slaves, what are you going to do with the land? You have to till the land yourself, which the amount of land that it takes to be prosperous, if you don't have slaves to till the land, then the land itself doesn't have that much value. This is still in Proverbs. This is a Proverbs heavy lesson. It's Proverbs 28:19. It says, he that tilleth his land shall have plenty of bread, but he that followeth after vain persons shall have poverty enough. And in order to till the land, you need to have servants. So if Esau was to give every Jake 40 acres, Jake doesn't know how to till the land. Jake doesn't know how to farm, how to plant. Jake has been completely westernized. When I say Jake, I mean all of us, all right? It's not just the 2/3. It's very few Jakes that can live off the land. Now, in the kingdom, we're going to have that knowledge given back unto us, and we're going to have people that are going to serve us and serve the land so that we don't have to do it, all right? It's in the law that, let me get that real quick. Because Jake will say, well, you know, we believe in the Bible, but then you read the Bible when it clearly tells you that you're going to have slaves. All of a sudden, Jake, oh, that's wrong. It's not wrong. It's these heathen were created to serve Israel. That's the only reason they exist, all right? Israelite men were created to serve the Most High. Israelite women were created to serve the Israelite man, and the heathen were created to serve the Israelites. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not evil. That's not wicked. It's not misogynist. It's not racist. It just is what it is. That's the truth, all right? You can see what these heathen are doing when left up to their own devices. They destroy themselves. You can see what these women do when they're not ruled over by a righteous husband. They destroy themselves. You can see what the Israelite man does when he's not being ruled over by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. He destroys himself. Anyone that's not serving their proper function is doing what? They're living in dysfunction, disorder. But this is Leviticus 25:44. It says, both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. And that's exactly what we're going to do. All right. Auctioning blocks are going to come back in style. All right. Slave ships are going to come back in style. When you read Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter and the 7th verse, it tells you that the curses of Israel are going to befall these heathen. All right. Now, one of the major curses of Israel is that we were sold to our enemies. All right. On slave ships. We went on auctioning blocks. And the same thing. It tells you in Joel that we're going to do the same thing to the heathen. So it says, this is back in Leviticus 25:45. It says, moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession. Right? And these strangers are not talking about Israelite foreigners. All right? There's going to be actual heathen in the land of Israel, and they're going to be slaves. All right? So anyone saying, well, look, are you saying only Israel is going to be saved? Yeah, only Israel is going to receive salvation. But they're going to be heathen that are going to be preserved. They're going to be saved. They're going to be in the kingdom, but they're going to be in a state of servitude. The same way that we're in Esau's heaven right now. We're in his kingdom, but we're at the bottom. But that's cool, though. Everybody's cool with so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans being at the bottom. But then when you talk about the kingdom of heaven, all of a sudden, we need equality. Where's equality for you Israelites, man? You 12 tribes of Israel. You're not equal with these heathen, but you want them to be equal with you in your kingdom. Showing you Jake has the Stockholm syndrome, man. But it says, verse 46, and ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor. Right, when you go into the ancient world, you could sell yourself into servitude for a matter of years to pay off a debt. All right. That has nothing to do with what we call slavery today. See, these devils, what they've done is they've taken righteous concepts in the Bible, and people have a negative association because of how he behaves. All right. In the scriptures, slavery is not some wicked thing where you tie someone up and torture them and tear their limbs apart and you rape their wife and all sorts of madness. That has nothing to do with the slavery in the Bible. All right. When you look at a marriage in the Bible, a man ruling over his wife, that has nothing to do with a man getting drunk and putting hands on his woman because she didn't make a sandwich, like just going off, going crazy. That's not what the scriptures say when they mean, the man shall rule over the woman. That has nothing to do with that. But these Edomites, because they're wicked and base, they've taken hierarchy and turned it into something evil. All right, if you have a base man who's at the top and everybody else is at the bottom, people have a problem with hierarchy. But as it is written in Proverbs 29:2, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. What is another word for authority? Power, dominion, all right, rulership. When the righteous have rulership over everyone, the people are going to rejoice. So it's not a wicked thing for the Israelites to have slaves in the kingdom, because after 1,000 years, after they serve their punishment for what they've done to us, they're actually going to enjoy the kingdom. All right, these Edomites are going to be vanquished. All right, they're going to disappear. They're going to go back to the earth, all right, since they're so base. But the other 16 nations, they're going to live in harmony. They're going to live in peace, all right? We're not going to have everlasting peace on the earth just for Israel, but then the heathen are still going to be going to war with each other. No, the heathen are going to have to be at peace. Why? Because we're going to enforce the boundaries, all right? Right now, this devil, he goes around the world creating skirmishes, and he has neighbors fighting against each other. He'll give guns to two neighboring countries or even two neighboring ethnic groups within the same country and fund a genocide. And then he'll pop up and say, well, look, I'm the good guy. We're doing a humanitarian mission. All right. He'll show up there with Red Cross and they just start raping children. A total demon, man. You have two ethnic groups that don't like each other. You give one of them weapons, you give one of them drugs or some other substance, and then have them war with each other, and then give the other one guns, and then you show up and pretend that you're the good guy. We're not going to do that in the kingdom of heaven. All right. You Moabites are going to live in the land of Moab. All right. You Cushites are going to live in the land of Cush. All right. You Japhites are going to live in your land. All of you are going to live where you're supposed to live. You're not going to fight over each other's resources. All of the resources are going to be governed by the true kings of the earth, which is Yasharallah. All right. But this is Amos chapter 9, verse 13. It says, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him that soweth seed, and the mountain shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt. So the plowman is going to overtake the reaper. These people that rule over us, that have us working manual labor, to have us waking up at the crack of dawn, doing all sorts of madness to build up what? Their infrastructure, their kingdom. All right. This man built, when I say this man, I'm talking about Esau Edom. All right. The self-proclaimed Jewish man. All right. He has ruled the world through the labor of the Israelites. All right. What do they call it? Antebellum slavery. All right. The cotton picking, that funded the Industrial Revolution, and it made America the greatest, most wealthy nation that the earth has ever seen. But all that wealth came from what? The servants. The 12 tribes of Israel serve in captivity. Every nation that's enslaved the Israelites has become a world dynasty, a global economic superpower. Why? Because they own the people. Now in the kingdom of heaven, we're going to own all the 17 other nations, and we're going to be rich. We're going to be rich beyond, brothers say, you're going to be a billionaire, you're going to be a trillionaire. These are words that we have in this captivity to try to best describe the level of wealth and opulence that we're going to have in the kingdom. But you can't put a dollar sign. You can't measure the wealth of the kingdom of heaven in U.S. debt notes. All right. King Solomon, for example, he owned the world. Imagine it. Imagine owning the world. See, Jake thinks about dollar signs and the dollar symbol with commas, and okay, this guy's a millionaire. This guy's a multimillionaire. Oh, Jay-Z's a billionaire. Dr. Dre's a billionaire. Jake, there are people that own countries, that own armies, that own resources. Like you want something that's done. It's not see, when you're so-called rich, you have to buy something. All right, you have to go to the store. The store has to have it in stock. All right, when you're a power, you don't have to buy anything. It's done. This is already mine. You don't have to buy something that's already yours, Jake. We're not gonna go to the supermarket. You're gonna have it. Everything that you could desire is gonna come from the earth, and it's gonna be it's gonna be in your backyard. You're gonna have the world in your backyard, so to speak. All right, all the gold, the precious minerals. If you want to make something out of gold, your slaves are gonna mine the gold that's already on your land. You want spices, you want herbs, you want a particular food. Those animals, they're gonna be on your land already. You're not gonna have to go to the store to buy anything, Jake. We're gonna be on a whole nother level that we can fathom. And it's all gonna be on the heathen. They're gonna have to do manual labor. We're not gonna roll up our sleeves and, you put on overalls. No, man. Now you have Jakes that like to fish. You can fish in your living room, man. You're gonna have salt water. You're gonna have fresh water. You want to have a moat, all right? Jake watched these cartoons and various period pieces about the Dark Ages. You see a draw board, a drawn board, and a moat. Jake's gonna have that, man. Jake's gonna have underwater palaces. We go into the kingdom, and Jake can't fathom not waking up and going to work for a heathen, man. You had that one bug out Jake. We brought him up this Saturday, man. He actually asked one of the brothers if the heathen are gonna be in slavery, how are we gonna get jobs in the kingdom? Jake really can't fathom owning the world, man. Jake can't fathom not working for the Edomites or any heathen. He actually asked that, man. Imagine being so bugged out. You're asking the Israelites. You find out you're an Israelite, right? This isn't some nigga in the world. This was someone who knew that he's from the 12 tribes of Israel. He knew that the kingdom of heaven was at hand. He knew that we're going to rule over the heathen. And his mind was like, wait a minute. If the so-called white man is in slavery, where are we going to get jobs? How am I going to go to work if the so-called white man is in bondage? His brain couldn't fathom freedom. And that's what slavery ultimately does you. And that's what Esau's, his overall agenda is, not just to enslave our people physically. His main thing is to get us here, to get us to really look at him as if he's supposed to always be in power. He wants your soul, Jake. That's why it tells you in Revelation, what, the 18th chapter, in Babylon was found the souls of men. Yeah, it lists all these physical things that Babylon has, that buys and sells and trades, but it said the souls of men. Esau owns 2/3 souls. That's why they're going to take the chip. That's why they're going to be destroyed. But let me keep reading on this. It says, back in Amos 9:14, it says, and I will bring again the captivity of my people of Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof. They also shall make gardens and eat the fruit of them. Now, are we going to physically rebuild Jerusalem? Are we going to physically plant fruits and build vineyards? No, these heathen are going to do it. All right, we're going to get the credit. The same way if Esau builds one of these skyscrapers, he'll put his name on it, but he didn't physically get up there. It's so-called blacks and Hispanics that are on the scaffolds and them giant ladders and working equipment, all right, working these hazardous jobs. Why? Because we're in captivity. We're servants unto these Edomites, man. And in the kingdom, all of these heathen are going to be our servants. So when it says they're going to build the waste cities, they're going to rebuild Jerusalem through manual labor, all right? We're going to be on thrones, man. Snapping fingers, all right, pointing, setting up taskmasters. We're not going to physically rebuild Jerusalem, all right? That's our city. You heathen destroyed it. You're going to fix it, man. It says, and I will plant them upon their land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, saith Yahweh thy power. Right. And, when you tell someone to do something and you're a king, you have authority, they have to do it. There is no, I'll think about it. There is no maybe. All right. You have the threat of violence behind you. You have force. You have the exousia, as it speaks of in Revelation 2. We might have to get that. But let me get this real quick. This is Ecclesiastes 8:4. It says, where the word of a king is, there is power. And who may say unto him, what doest thou? Right. A servant can't tell a king, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like doing that. What? you must feel like dying. All right. What was it? Was that a Wayne song? I feel like dying. That's going to be the theme song for you heathen. Any of you that have something to say against the 12 tribes of Israel, oh, he feels like dying. All right. Now, certain judgments are going to require you to get put to death, and then we'll keep your spirit in your body. We'll put your spirit back in your body, and you have to get back to work, man. You can't escape the judgment through death. that's an easy way out, man. You're gonna have to work. You heathen are gonna have to work. We built up what, Babylon, Assyria, all right, Persia, Greece, Rome, and especially America, man. Our people put blood, sweat, and tears into building this decrepit, sodomitish society, man. We built up a nation where a man can penetrate another man, and that's totally acceptable here. So how much more righteous kingdom, all right? We built up a kingdom that's going to be destroyed in 1 hour by thermonuclear missiles. You heathen are going to build up a kingdom that's going to last forever. So your labor's not in vain, all right? You're again, you're gonna hate your punishment for the first 1,000 years, but after that, you're gonna be straight. This is, speaking of building away cities, because this is the actual gospel. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 1. And I love this chapter because when you read Luke, I believe the 4th chapter and the 17th verse, Shalom, Yahweh Shemel Shabbarakatah. When you read Luke, the 4th chapter and the 17th verse on down, they handed Yahushua a scroll. At that time, we didn't have like a Bible with the books and pages and page number, and you flip this page and that page, chapter this, chapter that. It was scrolls. Someone handed him a scroll of Isaiah. He opened the scroll and he read the gospel, and this is what he read. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 1. The Spirit of the Lord Yahweh is upon me, because Yahweh hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, which is us. All right, we're the ones that are bound right now, and this is who the gospel is for. All right, the downtrodden, the lowly, the people at the bottom of society that everyone turns their nose up at. All right, you niggas get off welfare. Meanwhile, you Edomites are on welfare. You're the number one people on welfare. All right. It says, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahweh and the day of vengeance of our power, to comfort all that mourn. All right. It says, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, and the oil for joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called the trees of righteousness, the planting of Yahweh, that he might be glorified. Now, when Yahushua read this, he closed the book before it said the day of vengeance of our power. But that's a huge part of the gospel, man. And when you look into building up the kingdom, verse 4, it says, and they shall build the old wastes. They shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations. Now, again, we read the same thing in Amos, that we're going to build the waste cities. Who's going to be doing the physical labor? Verse 5, it says, and strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. So these gardens, these vineyards, they're going to be tilled by the heathen. These heathen are going to be doing the manual labor. And that's the gospel, all right? The Lord didn't read Isaiah 61, and he only believes in the first verse. But the rest of this, oh no, that's the Old Testament. Like, what is wrong with these people, man? All right, the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation says the exact same thing. All the prophets are in one accord. All right, the Holy Spirit, first of all, the scriptures were inspired by the Holy Spirit. How is the Holy Spirit going to move one man to write something and then move another man to write something totally different? All right, Isaiah and Jeremiah are saying this, but Apostle Paul, he's saying the exact opposite. That's madness, man. The Lord doesn't have his men at variance with one another. They're all quoting each other. They're all saying the same thing, but it's in different ways. And it's written, really, the Bible is a puzzle so that only the elect can understand it. And we understand this word and we love it, man. We love reading about the end of our bitterness, the end of our captivity, the end of our women being destroyed, our children being a prey, the end of the Heavenly Father and his Son not getting their glory, and an actual kingdom where there's righteousness. This is something we look forward to. But these people, they're like, no, we need to all come together and do what? What do so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans need to come together with you Edomites for? To do what? To keep your kingdom going? Psh, yeah, you wish. It says, but ye shall be named the priests of Yahweh. Men shall call you the ministers of our power. Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves. So we're going to boast ourselves in these heathen, in their riches, man. Which we're already starting to do that right now. We can see the downfall of Esau, Edom. We could already see that we're at the end of this captivity, and we're boasting, man. Everything we've been prophesying, the Lord is making it happen. These people are losing their minds, all right? Especially Eve. Eve is bugging out every day. Everything we've been prophesying has been proven correct. And the only thing we have left is the mark of the beast and the full culmination of World War III. And the mark of the beast, it's already started. You already have people getting shipped up. You already have these booths pulled. You already have the digital ID. You have these merchant booths where you pay with the swipe. All right, they're doing away with regular retail. And then World War III, man, Russia versus Ukraine is really Russia versus NATO, man. It's really Russia versus America, but it's a proxy war. There's going to come a point where that proxy is no longer going to be a proxy anymore. It's going to be the bear against that eagle. They're going to lock horns, man. And it's going to end in the total destruction of our enemies. And we look forward to it. It says, for your shame, ye shall have double, and for your confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in their land they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them. Right, we're going to possess the double. It says, for I, Yahweh, love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering, and I will direct their work in truth, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them. Who's the them? The 12 tribes of Israel. When you read Hebrews, the 8th chapter, it says, behold, the new covenant is going to be with the house of Judah and the house of Israel. The house of Judah is the southern kingdom. The house of Israel is the northern kingdom. All right, Judah today, so-called Negroes, so-called Haitians, so-called Jamaicans, people from Barbados, and various West African tribes, the Igbo. That's the southern kingdom of Israel. Then you have the northern kingdom, so-called Latinos and Native Americans, so-called indigenous people, all right, the descendants of the Mayans, all right. You have the Seminole Indians, so on and so forth, man. We're the Lord's chosen people, and it's obvious when you look at, I mean, anything, man, just the spirit of our people. But one of my favorite analogies is, not even an analogy, I like using boxing as an example, because you see the northern and southern kingdom are cream of the crop in boxing. Now, the northern kingdom, typically, they're short. You know, you very rarely see a 6'7" so-called Mexican. It's very rare that you see, you know, a Cuban that's like 6'9". So you're not going to see the Northern Kingdom dominate in basketball as much. You're not going to see them dominate the NFL as much. But boxing, combat sports have something called weight classes. So you can see even like a little bitty Issacharite that's like 135 pounds. You can see, okay, this is a warrior. All right, he may not be, you know, a linebacker size Jake, but he's still an Israelite. He still has that spirit. You can see it, man. And who is doing more work to keep America going than the Northern Kingdom, man? These so-called Mexicans, man, they work their ass off to keep Esau's kingdom going. So you can best believe that they're going to have heathen working for them in the kingdom. But again, in their mind right now, they're just totally gone. All right, they are homeborn slaves. They love to work for the damn devil. And it's a manly spirit to want to be productive, to want to work, but you're supposed to want to work for your legacy, for your children, for your name. You're not supposed to want to be someone that dedicates your entire life. You devote 80 plus years to breaking down your body to making another man rich, a man who hates you. That's off, man. The coon spirit of our people is totally off. But verse 9, it says, and their seed shall be known among the Gentiles, and their offspring among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which Yahweh have blessed. Now, if all the nations are going to be saved together, how are the heathen going to acknowledge that we're the seed that's blessed? That doesn't even... Christianity is not in the Bible, man. When you read the scriptures, it's all about Israel. All right? I'll just end with this. This is Revelation 2:25. But that which ye have already, hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I have received of my Father. And that word power, again, my favorite Greek word, exousia, having a total authority over someone, having the ability to do as you please. When you go into that word, it's everything that's coming to the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, a supernatural authority from on high to rule over the nations. And that's something that it's crazy that you have to convince Jake and explain to Jake and debate Jake that you're going to be empowered. All right, our people are so beat down that they don't even want to accept rulership and authority. which is our birthright. All right. It's our God-given right as Israelites to own heathen. All right. Again, the only reason heathen exists on our planet is to work for us. There's nothing wrong with that. What are the heathen doing by not working for Israel? Look what they're doing to the earth. Look what they're doing to themselves. When you leave them up to their own devices, they just destroy themselves and they destroy the earth. We're actually going to put them to a proper use. All right. You Moabites, you're going to be in charge of that. You Ishmaelites, you're going to be in charge of that. They're going to have an actual purpose on the earth. Right now, you have these heathen asking, well, what's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of life? No one in the kingdom is going to have an existential crisis and wonder philosophically, why was I born? You're going to know exactly why you were born. All you heathen are going to know what your purpose is, where you belong, what you're supposed to be doing, and what you better not do. You're going to have a perfect understanding of your position in creation. And that comes with a sense of fulfillment. All right. This society teaches you that you're supposed to constantly strive to reinvent yourself and find yourself. How are you going to find yourself? You're you. What the hell are you looking for, man? All right. In the kingdom, you're always going to know what your purpose is, and that's going to give you a sense of fulfillment. And I gotta get that Proverbs real quick. I'll end on that. We can't bring this out enough, man. Because really, this one scripture alone proves so much. It proves who the righteous is, who the wicked is. It proves what the kingdom of heaven is going to bring to the heathen in their enslavement. It says, this is Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. It says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Now, when the righteous are in authority, what does that mean? We're going to have the ability, the exousia, to tell the heathen what to do, what not to do. We're going to rule over them. Now, again, in this society, having authority over someone is looked down upon. We're all supposed to be equal. We're all supposed to, no one's supposed to rule over another person. No, you're supposed to rule over a heathen because they can't govern themselves. All right? Yahushua is supposed to rule over us because we can't govern ourselves. Look what happens when an Israelite man follows his own flesh. You end up freaked out, man. Jake need discipline, man. Jake need to be ruled over, and these heathen need to be ruled over by us. And it tells you the people are going to rejoice. All right. What don't people understand about this? But see, because it's us, if we were so-called white people reading the same precepts, all right, Jake would be all for it, man. But it is what it is. Jake is a coon. Lord willing, this was edifying. All right. You need subjects in order to be a king. You need to have power. You need to have people to rule over in order to have power. Otherwise, you're just a person with land. All right. You tilling the land yourself. You spending 80 years making a vineyard. Come on, man. We're going to have slaves, Jake. We're going to have slaves, and they're going to love it or else. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahawashi, Bahashem Rachach Wadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom.